When you have the organic conversation of just two men in particular talking about the raw emotions, feelings, anger, frustrations, fears of this journey, becoming single dads, then, from in my case, finding love again, and all of the concerns, doubts, and questions that come with that, I felt like the conversation itself had to be heard.
Hi, friend. Welcome to Call Me Friend, the podcast where we call my friends and you get one heck of a good story. This episode is brought to you by Miss Lou's Cabin, an Airbnb property on a remote section of the Georgia coast. Today, we are calling two dads. They are two dads who share a tragic story. They didn't know each other when they were each going through their tragedy. And the way they came to meet each other later, well, it's kind of meet cute, although you don't really want to say cute with all the tragedy, but it is still kind of an incredible story of who and how they came together and what they are doing with their grief. If you need some inspiration for getting back up after your own tragedy, if you are having your own grief story, this is a call you're not going to want to miss. And I have a special guest today. My own husband, Trent, will be coming in. I'm bringing him in because I don't know if you know, but our own story, our own marriage kind of was started with grief and where it's gotten us to. And I just would like to connect all these dads and have conversation with them. And side note, full disclosure, these two dads that I'm calling, I actually don't know them. But part of what I was thinking when I was starting this podcast was I love it when my people meet my people. And it was just this week that I got a call from my friend Ted, and this is what he had to say.
Hey Dak, it's Ted. How are you? I wanted to send you a message just really briefly. I know how much we love when our people meet each other, and I recently met these two guys, David and Jamal. Pretty inspirational story. Their late wives passed away from cancer, and now they found each other and are working on a new podcast and navigating it with their kids and so forth. So I thought it'd be kind of cool for you to meet them. Check them out. Let me know what you think. I'll see you soon. Bye.
So if Ted says we need to call David and Jamal, I think we should call David and Jamal. This episode is powered by Miss Lou's Cabin, an Airbnb property on a remote section of the Georgia coast. Do you ever go to a beautiful resort to that area and you long to know what this beautiful place looked like before they paved paradise and put up a parking lot? Well, now you actually have that chance. Miss Lou's Cabin sits on 7 private acres on a tidal saltwater marsh about 50 miles south of Savannah, Georgia. It is a place so quiet, you don't even hear road noise. Instead, you'll hear pink spoonbills, wild dolphins feeding off your private dock, the breeze whistling through the Spanish moss that hangs from the countless oak trees that are all around the property. The porch overlooking the marsh is the perfect place to hang with your family, read a zillion books, catch the sunrise, and it's all while you stay in this restored log cabin that has all the comforts and amenities of a beautiful home. Miss Lou's Cabin, you can check it out in the link below in show notes, or simply just Google Miss Lou's Cabin and you will find this little piece of paradise. Well, hi friends, new friends.
Hello, how are you?
Hello, what's up, Daryn?
David and Jamal. My friend Ted said I needed to meet you guys, so it's Call Me Friend, so I'm calling Ted's friend. So thanks for taking my call.
Of course, absolutely.
We're happy to be here. Yeah, absolutely.
And of course, technically, I guess I don't know you. We are new friends, but part of what I liked about when I was hearing about your story from Ted was that you two didn't know each other either. And there's kind of a meet cute part of your story of how you two met, which we will get to. But I want to lead up to that and start kind of with the difficult times, with what you each went through with your wives. I would love to know about each of your wives, your late wives, and your story of your family. Jamal, let's just start with you.
Yeah, well, thank you again, Daryn. It's been great meeting you, and I'm excited to talk to you today. So yeah, I grew up in New York and met my late wife after college, and we, quickly became great friends, and we had a great community. I would say it was really kind of the foundation of not just our friendship, but also our relationship. And then fast forward, we got married, had our first child, got married, and then decided to move to Austin. We had a daughter together, and my late wife at the time, she had actually brought my stepson into my life. It allowed me to mature as a parent a lot quicker. And then, when we got to Austin, I think a lot of the difficulties of marriage presented itself, but it was one where we were still kind of grounded in family. So my role and the importance of being a father, a good father, was something that kind of I led with even during the difficult times.
What did your family look like? How many kids and how long had you been married when she first got sick?
Yeah. So when we had 3 children, 2 together, and then my stepson. So she got diagnosed about 9 years into the marriage. And that was probably a really difficult part for me in particular, because I think we were both kind of at this this point of, should we get divorced or should we not? We were having some real conversations about the relationship, but we had young kids. So that was something that we both factored in, and, we both took our roles as parents very, very seriously. But when she got diagnosed, that actually, obviously that got pushed to the back. And it was a decision that we both, made, that we would kind of stay through and stay focused on her health. And
so it was about 3 years from the time she was diagnosed to when she passed?
3.5 years. Yeah. So she was diagnosed in April of 2014, and she passed away in August of 2017. So, yeah.
Well, like I said, I didn't know you then. But even though it's some years, I still feel like I want to express my condolences for everything that your family has gone through for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. David, what about you and your wife?
Got married late. So it was New York area. It was way before computer love, as I refer to it, and Bumble and Facebook friends and all this stuff, Tinder, all this stuff. And just riding around, one of my friends, I called her just to kind of check in, see how she was doing. And we're just talking a little bit. And she said, Dave, are you with anybody now? No, not really. Oh, well, I have a friend for you. She's in the car right now. Oh, wow. Okay. All right. So her name is Nalani, and we just kind of decided to meet and to see what happens with that. So we met, and it just seemed to really work. Again, it was later in my life, and I did a lot of the approval tour with friends. Hey, what do you think about her? And different people, and some were like, Dave, you better lock it up right now, or else she's not gonna wait around for you. So that's really how it happened for us. And then fast forward, having children, then going through the diagnosis, and then trying to figure out what we're going to do. Nalani's very private, so we had to kind of deal with it in that context, and just worked through the diagnosis, then remission, which we almost really question at this phase, and then stage 4, kind of in that area anyway, or that diagnosis in that range anyway. And probably within 2 years of diagnosis, died of a rare uterine sarcoma. So tried to do everything as far as different kind of Band-Aid medication, maybe start a trial, and she died. So, yeah, so difficult times, and just fantastic what Jamal and I also talk about, the village, the play aunties, play uncles, mother, father, everybody, and that makes it better. But it doesn't replace the huge abyss, the chasm that has formed in our family. We move forward because we still have children, and we still have to take care of what their legacy will be. Move on and continue the work that Nalani and I had started as far as making well-rounded, independent girls.
Yes. So tell me, so you have 2 girls together, you and Nalani.
Yes. So Miela, my 15-year-old now, and my 13-year-old Kara. Yeah, so they are hilarious. We have a good time. They think they run the household, and
They probably do.
They do.
They probably do.
They probably do. Yeah.
So you fit in where you can, right, Jamal? Just as far
Exactly.
as running the household.
And how long ago did Nalani pass?
22. So 2022, that August. And I think Jamal mentioned it. We're about 5 years apart when Janice and Nalani died, which is so interesting. Same month,
Yeah.
days apart, essentially, but 5 months, 5 years exactly, almost. Yeah.
So now let's get to the part where you two meet. Jamal, you and your family, you were in Austin, Texas, but you moved back to the Northeast.
Yeah.
And as I understand it, it was your kids who played matchmaker for you two. Tell me that story.
Yeah, at the time, I think our daughters were, I guess 12 now because they're 15.
Yeah.
So my daughter, Zaya, and Miela were both in classes together. They were both in the same middle school. And, we had just moved here fresh from, Austin. As a parent, I'm worried about my daughter making friends, and she decided she wanted to have a birthday party to celebrate her 12th. And we were excited because she came back with a nice long list of both girls and boys, right? So we were excited for that.
Oh, that's trouble.
Yeah,
that's
it is trouble.
Always on the list for a 12th birthday, but that's a different podcast.
Quite skeptical of that. Wait a minute.
Exactly. Yeah. I watched the guys very closely, but but no, I think we were both, my wife Jordan and I, we were both very excited because Zaya was the one we worried most about. Middle school was always a hard transition to move, and but she told us that she met a couple of friends, in particular Miela, and she was like, you got to meet Miela's dad. And I was like, have you met him? And she's like, no, I heard about him. And I'm like, okay, that's great. But come to find out, she had told me that, David and his family had, he had lost his wife, and the girls had lost their mom. So I was, really encouraging Zaya. I was like, well, you know what? You can support Miela because you've been through this. And, next, fast forward, we're at the birthday party, and she's like, hey,
in a bowling alley. Don't forget that.
Yeah, it's a bowling alley birthday party. Yeah. And she's like, Dad, there's Miela's dad. Go meet him. And I'm running around taking care of everything. And we finally sit down, and, I joke that, that they set us up on a play date. Because I feel like as soon as I got the time to sit down after, running around, prepping everything for the party, and, David and I got the time to actually talk, it was like kindred spirits. I mean, we just clicked almost instantaneously. So
it was funny. We almost had to cut the conversation short because we knew we started our own shorthand, finishing each other's sentences and and just going through that. And again, we're in a bowling alley, and all these other parents, and men flock to the other men, or the fathers go to the other fathers, and what have you. So what's really funny is he and I are sitting down, and we're aware of our surroundings. This one dude sits down, and he's listening to us, and we start to try to involve him in the conversation because what we're talking about is very specific to the experiences that we've been going through, very personal. And he tried to offer something similar, but it wasn't the same. Yeah. But we had to, I can understand the loss of somebody you knew, a friend of a friend who lost somebody. We understand. Thank you, man. Yeah. So it was just really funny to we're going deep and knowing, no. There'll be other times that he and I will have deeper conversations. And really it just ended up, he'd come to my house, or I go to his, and we're just sitting in the dining room and drinking water, and we have these very animated conversations. And then it just led to Jamal had approached me about this podcast, and I had to think about it because I didn't know if I was ready to have those.
Let me jump in here a second, because I'm just interested. I'm really intrigued about this idea of how you guys met. So David, is this time at the bowling alley the first time you're hearing about something so significant you might have in common with this kid's father? Hi, I'm Jamal. My wife died too.
It was more, I knew going in that he did suffer this loss. And so I knew I wanted to speak to him. I didn't know to what depth we would go, how much he wanted to share. And just as Jamal said, once we started talking, kind of kindred spirits in that sense that there's more to this friendship. There's more to this dialogue that will lead to deeper friendship.
Yeah.
And I also think it's so interesting. You have these 11, 12-year-old little girls, basically, who have their own grief journey, right? But have this sense of empathy, of taking care of dad, too. Like, Dad, this is a good thing. Like, you need a friend. And like you said, I arranged a play date for you. I think that speaks so well of your daughters.
Yeah, my daughter, Zaya, was always, or is always, trying to encourage me to get out. Like, you should go and do this. You should go out. You should go here. So when she, I think when she found out that that Mialo's dad, David, had gone through a similar experience and was also, right, clearly, I think these girls talk about us way more than we think they do. So, I think it was, it definitely was, I definitely felt this support and the encouragement from them.
The time I got fixed up by my 12-year-old daughter for a play date could be the title. So it leads to these very in-depth conversations between these two men, getting to know each other, a shared experience that if you haven't had it, as you mentioned, it's kind of hard to relate.
Right.
How do we get to podcast?
I'd already had the idea that there needed to be a conversation, and I didn't know that it was going to be in podcast form. When you have the organic conversation of just two men in particular talking about the raw emotions, feelings, anger, frustrations, fears of this journey, becoming single dads, then, in my case, finding love again, and all of the concerns, doubts, and questions that come with that, I felt like the conversation itself had to be heard. So when I, talked to David about it, he did pause.
Yeah. So Jamal says, hey, I've got a great idea. Let's take these very personal, sensitive conversations, men talking about feelings. There's a concept. That's already a stretch. And let's put that out there in the world. Let's do a podcast. And David, you said, I don't know.
Yeah, I had to think about it. I'm very open and honest. That's how I was raised. I realized, I don't know if I want to be on stage or an audience like that, in essence. To everyone to know, I don't know. I then thought about it as easily as we discuss what we've gone through. We also as easily speak about the things that we love to do. It was in that same conversation I felt, and he didn't have to do heavy convincing. It was, man, you're right, because we're not talking about this enough. I realized I left, even though the topics about loss heavy for us, I felt upbeat after speaking to Jamal. I felt others could feel that same way.
David and I have both experienced, and since losing our wives and kind of figuring out how do we move forward, is in particular, like, amongst many of the men that we know, that we've grown up with, that we've met in our careers, in our personal lives, we've heard too many instances where men are having mental health breakdowns or committing suicide. And when you actually kind of like get to dig in the weeds of like, wait, what happened? Like, what you find out that a lot of us are dealing with these things that we just don't talk about, or we don't know how to talk about. And even
far too common.
Yeah, it's far too common, right? And I think even though for us it was our conversation, our dialogue begins with this loss of our spouses, the reality is we're really trying to help men in particular learn to talk, period, about difficult things.
So this was one of the things that, well, there were many things about your story that made me want to call you when Ted called me. One, in a million years, you would not have picked what happened to each of your families of what happened. And yet you also don't want to waste the pain, don't want to waste the experience, to just go through it and not make sense of it, but to put some value in it for somebody else would seem like to pile on to the tragedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's very true. It just, that other step, Jamal, hey, let's have more of a dialogue, open it up to others. So yeah, I agree with that.
So you created this podcast, Getting Back Up. Just so I'm clear, we don't have any other broadcasters amongst us, right? It's not like I didn't run into you in the hallways of CNN. Like this is not, you wouldn't know it to listen to it because you guys are really good, but you're not broadcasters, right? It's really just two honest, two people having conversation, two men.
Two men who are very animated in conversation and laugh a lot and share a lot.
I think laughing a lot and laughing a lot even about the difficult things, right? Trying to find humor in, the most difficult moment.
And the absurdities of, like I said, something you would never pick in a million years.
Yeah.
Well, another thing that drew me to your story is my family, my marriage is kind of rooted in a very similar situation. I'm kind of the post chapter. So I married a man who had lost his former wife and was a dad. When I met him, he was a single dad raising his young daughter alone. And when I was listening to your podcast, like, oh, I know these people. I'm married to one of you. I married one of you people. So in the spirit of my people meeting my people, I think we need to call Trent so that you guys can meet Trent and Trent can meet you. And then we can continue the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like it. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Sound good?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's call Trent. Hi, husband.
Hello, friend.
Yes, we're friends. I wanted to introduce you to my new friends. This is David and Jamal.
Hey, Trent.
Hey, Trent. How are you, man?
Hey, gentlemen. So good to finally meet you. Doing great.
Thank you. We've heard a lot of good things about you.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
And husband, I was telling you about Jamal and David being single dads, raising their kids after they lost each of their wives. And I said, oh, well, that sounds like a familiar story. I married one of those kind of people. And we're a few years ahead of where they are. And I just thought it'd be great to bring you in and we can all have a conversation together.
Yep. I like it.
Yeah. Trent, when did you know that you needed to move forward? What happened for you that you said, yeah, I need to keep moving and I want to love again?
So our pathways, though somewhat similar, have a little bit different undulations. We had a couple bouts of loss. I had an ectopic pregnancy where we had to terminate the beating heart and the fallopian tube. I lost a daughter after 3 days old, born at 26 weeks. I lost a marriage. And then, which is, a huge loss, a profound loss to everyone who experienced that. And then my daughter lost her mother a few years later. So we have a kind of a different carousel of losses. Some wins in there, but, there are some losses. So in terms of the relationships, there was 5 years between divorce and the death of my daughter's mom. And so I had that 5-year period to start figuring out priorities. It's a little bit of crawl, walk, run, right? You got to figure out what your new life looks like with the 100% focus on the daughter. I believe she was 8 years old when her mom died. Moved in with me after she finished the school year in the spring. And so it's really all about preparing a life for the daughter who has to relocate right to a new state, new city, new friends. So the perspective of the kids, is probably a different session. When it's time to search for that new partner, what are the set of essential qualities that partner would bring to the table to be a good fit in my daddy-daughter ecosystem?
One thing I pick up with all you guys is that separate from what happened with wives, former wives, all three of you were and are very dedicated fathers, interested in being a good father. So it wasn't just like, oh, wow, now what am I going to do? I'm not really an involved parent. I sense that everybody here was an involved parent even before this happened.
Yeah. I think it's funny. I think, Trent, your experiences in kind of the walk through kind of tragedy, but then also losing the marriage, I think is my experience is somewhere in between, right? Because I think we, as I mentioned to Daryn earlier, my marriage wasn't great, right? We were walking that path, headed probably toward divorce. And on my worst days of marriage, I really grounded myself in being a great father.
Right.
And even as I had those conversations with Janice around, well, let's talk about what divorce would look like. It's not going to compromise my ability to be a great father. I have two. I have a now almost 21-year-old and a 15-year-old with Janice, and a 32-year-old stepson. And then I have a 4-year-old, right? So with my wife, Jordan. So the element of being a great dad spans for me from across all ages, and being able to kind of help them navigate whatever transition. I think you talked about like the critical one when there's such a young age, losing their parent. Yeah. Like, how do you navigate that element of making sure you are putting into place all the pieces of support, all the ways that you can support them through this loss, loss of their mom. But then also, yeah, like, then in that process, for me, it was also similarly doing the same thing of looking back and saying, what are the things that I want to do different in marriage or in a relationship? What are the things I need to work on myself, right? Because, I'm not perfect. And then also David and I talk about a lot. What are the red flags, right, that we see in, women who we're dating, or as we think about moving forward, what are the red flags that we need to look for, that so we don't end up in another situation where we feel like we're in an unhealthy relationship, because that ultimately affects the kids, right? And I think that's something that I thought about as well.
Can I ask a question that's none of my business? Because that's what I do.
To Trent?
No, well, it's all his business is my business. Let's be clear about that.
Just as long as Trent, it's out in the open. Trent's on, so he'll hear
That's
it.
it. He knows that. He knows that. But David, so it's only 2-3 years since you lost Nalani. Have you not been ready to date again? Do you feel pressure from outside, people saying you need to do this again? Like, what is that for you right now?
Yeah, I have been dating, and I realize how much that person coming into my life is entering. Because at the very top, the children and everything that is connected to that, my career, and this whole idea of, yes, also I need something for me as well. And so therefore, I don't need that partner to raise my children. I need them to model what you did, Daryn. But you did a lot more raising from what I understand. But it's this idea of, I need to have someone who understands there was someone before you, and that you will be in a place where the priority is not always going to focus on you, but it's going to focus on the girls I have for the next 5 to 7 years, not at your expense totally, the woman I'm with, but know that this is my priority. I have to continue the legacy. I have to continue our mission, Nalani and my mission, to make sure these are the most well-rounded children who lost their mother. So I've got to continue that. So that person has to understand that.
Did you know, husband, did you know when you know?
I knew very, very early. I mean, I cycled through a couple of relationships.
A couple?
A couple of relationships.
Oh, I hope this was talked about. If not, I'm listening.
Yeah, this was talked about.
I mean, not the contest. But I knew quickly, because Daryn brought to the table, the attributes, she just brought the attributes, and she, in her own elegant and eloquent way, revealed them to both my daughter Kendall, to the very girl, and to me. And it was the fit was really good for her because she wanted so much to experience motherhood. She wanted so much to be within a family. If both partners have the equal hierarchy of needs, you kind of get to that. Are we on the same page or not? The easier it is for both parties either proceed or move on because of not perfect compatibility, right? And I haven't heard the podcast yet, the Getting Back Up session where we kind of talk through, and maybe you're teasing and you're going to reveal it later this week. But the grieving process, the death hits us. It wrecks the families. It wrecks all of them, right? There is no, oh, she's in a better place, right? Once you get beyond that, then it's time to block and tackle. I've got school lunches. I got to meet the teachers. I got to get the carpool. Got to hold down a job. I got to let my bosses and my customers know it's a different world now, right? And so I'm looking forward to doing that because that while you're still emotionally grieving, that has to hit you, and actually it gives you a little bit of a detour from the grieving, and lets you focus on a series of tasks that's the betterment of the child. And looking at your new prospective partner, if they get that and understand that and have a malleable schedule themselves to co-partner, but those things come out very quickly in the relationship because it becomes contentious where there's a mismatch.
Yeah.
I mean, one of our first or second dates, I'm telling you what it feels like to be that woman trying to come into that. I'd gotten to the advanced age that I was, and I had never even dated somebody with kids. Forget this kind of situation. And here I am sitting across from a man who's raising a child full-time by himself as a single dad. And so I asked him, I said, how does a single dad date? How do you do this? And he claims he doesn't remember this, but I remember this very clearly. He said, how does therapist Joe say I should date? Or how do I date?
There was a part of me that was, kind of almost unapologetically like, this is what I have to do. This is where my time is. And my initial thought was like, the only person who's going to understand that is somebody who is divorced, single parent, or has gone through what I've gone through. But I didn't initially think that somebody who didn't have children would understand that. And what ended up happening was, my wife her parents were divorced. So she was a stepchild at some point. She has a half sister, right? So she understood the other dynamics that I didn't understand about what it's like to be on this side. So as a friend, she would come to me and ask, hey, have you thought about these things for the kids? Because I remember when my family was disrupted, this was important to me, or these were things that, I wish somebody would have asked me, or whatever, even at 7, 8, 12, whatever. And I was like, wow, like this is a totally different perspective. I'm thinking about it from hearing input from parents or somebody, an adult but I'm not thinking about hearing the voice of a child. And she was able to bring the voice of a child who had gone through these experiences. Somebody who can speak the language of my kids is probably more important to me than somebody who can speak my language.
I think this is one of the reasons that your podcast is so, I don't want to say enjoyable to listen to. It is, but it's valuable as well because, yes, it's two men who lost each of their wives to cancer, but it really is about loss. One of the taglines of one of your episodes, life, loss, and everything that nobody tells you. What are the things, of course, that's a whole series of things, but the things that that nobody tells you. And Trent, you can jump in on this as well. The thing that nobody told you about losing a former spouse or raising a child who has just lost her mother. The thing you kind of wish you knew on the other side.
How do I fill the void that her mom left behind? I can never be a mom, right? Never. So how can a dad, with the limitations of a dad, right? How can that dad take over the roles of mom and still be the dad? It's
I call it the dad mom.
Kendall was 9.
I call it the dad
Jamal.
mom.
the dead mom. I mean, when from a time perspective, she was 9. And so one of our first trips, the weekend after she moved in, we went bra shopping, right? And where's the blog that says how to shop for a bra? And in the most, who was more embarrassed? Was it her or was it me? She had to be mortified.
She probably was. Probably was.
Right. Yeah. So, and there was no one around to really fill that role. And so we, stumbled and fumbled through it. I think I got lucky, modified my career. I was a traveling consultant. And so I modified my career to find different projects and engagements and opportunities that would keep me at home and not on an airplane 4 days a week. And so I just knew instinctively that was a career change I had to make, whatever the repercussions. I had to make it. So my priorities were singularly focused on her, and I'm sure most folks who counseled me prior would have told me to do the same thing. So I think instinct kind of saved me. I still think the unmet best practice is what, and I think Jamal was leaning toward this earlier. Tell me the cadence and the process and sequence of steps where it's appropriate to introduce your daughter, at 6 years old versus 16 years old, right? Maybe the answer is different to a person that you're serious about. How many hoops is the person you're serious about gone through successfully, such that 80% confident you're going to be a match?
I don't think there's a script to Trent's point. Like my father-in-law, when he was extremely supportive of Jordan and I when we decided to get married. But when he lost his wife, I remember a few months later, he was like, when's the right time to move forward? And he's and I'm like, wow, one, I'm honored that you're asking me.
Yeah.
But two, even for him, and now he's a senior, right? He's a senior, he's retired, he's trying to figure out what does the rest of his life look like. Right. And so and it's different for everybody. And I don't think there's the right answer. I think it's what is right for your family, meaning you and your children at that point in time.
Well, I'm going to pipe in and say the thing I wish I didn't know Trent at this time when this first happened. There was a couple year gap, but I wish he had friends like you guys. That would have been so awesome for you, Trent, if you could have had a Jamal and a David in your life who you could have connected with and shared this. I know he has shared stories with me of losing his first daughter. And how people would say things that were so maybe well-meaning but inappropriate. And that unless somebody has lost a child, they don't know what that is.
Yeah.
I do have to share a kind of a wild full circle thing that Trent doesn't know, and actually you guys don't know, that gave me chills of something you said earlier. David, you shared, I'm getting kind of choked up, but you shared the names of your daughters. Trent, David has a daughter named Kara.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Trent's first daughter who he lost was Kara Beth.
Spelled how, Trent?
K-A-R-A, Beth, 2 words.
K-E-R-A-H?
K-A-K-A-R.
Okay, gotcha.
And yours? How is your Kara?
K-E-R-A-H.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
But I hear what you're saying, Daryn. It's that same name.
It's an unusual name.
Doesn't matter how it's spelled, it's the same kind of thought in what that name meant to you and to me. Yeah.
And not the most unusual name, but not the most usual name as well. Yeah. And just kind of shows the magic of bringing people together.
It is. It is definitely.
And why your people need to meet your people.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's going to happen to all of us, and to know who you can reach out to because of that network that is formed because of venues like this and wonderful people like Ted who, you need to meet. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Gotta listen to that when someone says you need to meet my people.
Exactly. It's so true.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so true. And our daughters, when they say you need to be.
Yeah, right. When we
That's
send
true.
you on a play date, you better go on that play date. Yeah.
if you get set up on a play date. Well, it seems trite, but one thing that we do ask everybody on this podcast before I let you go is, what is the one thing that you are recommending to friends?
Oh.
It can be deep, like where we've just gone, or it could be the most superficial, silly thing.
I'm going to lighten it up a little bit, man.
Okay, David, please.
White vinegar for everything. White vinegar for cleaning, for cooking, for bug repellent. Come on, Daryn, Trent, you guys.
You have a believer in Trent. He is a big white vinegar fan. We have a jug this big.
Right, Trent, right?
Everything except the boat. It won't clean the boat, but it'll clean everything. Yeah.
Right, you need that deck solution for that, right? For the boat.
Yes.
Oh my God, he's all about the white vinegar.
White vinegar.
Jamal, what have you got?
Oh man. Let's see. What am I recommending these days? Stretching.
That's true. Yeah.
Stretching. I've started getting in a habit of trying to stretch at least 5 minutes a day. I hate stretching. Even as an athlete, I did not like stretching. So apparently it's, as you get up there in age, stretching becomes one of your best friends.
Your husband, what are you bringing to the table? What are you recommending?
Now that the vinegar solution is taken, I'll go to my other white vinegar. No, everyone needs to know what their credit score is and their credit health. Yeah. Go to creditkarma.com, create a free account, get a baseline of where your credit score is. Why? Because knowing your score is very important. It's going to give you access to lower interest rates in this high interest rate economy. And it also will help you actually travel for free or nearly free. So creditkarma.com, free account only. Don't let them upcharge you. To take a look at where your current credit is, it will not hurt your score. It'll give you insights that you may not score you. And they don't sponsor me, but it's something, it's a scorecard we use, all of us in our family on a regular basis to make sure we are credit.
Cool. I like that one.
It sounded like a check was coming for you for that. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. But see, the key thing is, guys, it's free. There's
free,
nothing he enjoys more than something that's free. So his thing was going to be free.
Yeah.
Which will lead me to what I'm recommending. First of all, your podcast, I'm recommending.
Oh, thank you.
Getting Back Up.
Thank you.
It's on all the socials as Get Back Up, and we will have links in the show notes to the podcast. But anybody who has experienced grief, which let's just say is everybody, can definitely get value and enjoyment out of listening to you guys talk and work through your stories and listen to your conversation. So I'm going to recommend that. And playing off of Mr. Free Credit Report, Miles' husband, he has a new newsletter on Substack where you get free tips on collecting points and miles and how you can travel in luxury for free or for spending pennies.
Oh, wow. I like that.
Yeah. I like
that's what I'm going with.
Yeah.
Oh, we left that. We made that much lighter. Thank goodness. Okay. Because I was on the floor in a puddle. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, husband. Thank you, David. Thank you, Jamal. Thank you, Ted.
Yes.
Shout out for meeting your people. And I also am going to recommend that you all need to come down and see us here on the Georgia coast.
Absolutely.
And stay at Miss Lou's cabin. We would love to have you.
My wife has been trying to drag us down to the coast. I think she used to visit there when she was in her youth. So we'll
come on down. We will take you out on the boat that will not be cleaned with vinegar, but it will be very clean.
Very clear about that. Very clear about
that.
Yes.
I promise you. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah,
thank
absolutely.
you.
All the best to your families. Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks for having
me.
us.
Thank you, husband. Okay, you've seen how this works. My friend Ted called me and told me that I need to meet his friends, David and Jamal. So my question for you is, who do you think I need to meet? I love it when my people meet my people. So who are your people? It's really easy to get in touch with me. You can reach out on any of the social media networks. And I also have a phone number that you can call 24/7. The number for the podcast is 912-766-0446. So let me know, who do I need to meet and call? Call me, friend. You've been listening to Call Me Friend. Executive producers for the show are Daryn Kagan and me, Daryn Kagan. The show is produced by Produce Your Podcast and Journeyist Inc. Production by Abe Fallick, Tammy Gagno, and Rob Paw.
Before you go, Call Me Friend is more than a podcast, it's a community. So head over to callmefriendpodcast.com to join the conversation. Or you can call or send a text to 912-766-0446, and you can leave Daryn a message there, or maybe even share a story of your own. Because when life gets real, you don't have to go it alone. Call a friend. Call this friend.